Still trying to figure out what's wrong with Dextre, the Canadian-made robot. One of the robot's shoulder joints is not responding properly. Engineers are considering beaming up a software patch to fix the glitch. Meanwhile, the team spent the night doing other chores. One of the space station's solar panels isn't rotating as it should, and astronauts tried to locate the problem. Endeavour is scheduled to return to Earth tomorrow. Spacewalking last night, undocking tomorrow. There's no space dust gathering on the astronauts at the International Space Station this week. To talk about the accomplishments of this mission and what's still to come, we're joined again by Kevin Shortt, president of the Canadian Space Society. Nice to have you in again on this Easter Sunday.
Good to be here.
Okay, final spacewalk of the mission. Just your assessment of how it went last night.
Well, it was definitely a busy one, and there was a lot of cleanup activities, a lot of little miscellaneous things to take care of, as you mentioned, talking about looking at the problems with the solar panel, ongoing sort of analysis inside the space station as far as what the problem is with Dextre, and just moving some experiments onto the Columbus module and just packing up to get ready to go.
To go home. So let's talk about those two things. And the solar panel, I mean, how big an issue is that it's not responding as it should?
It's a major issue to the extent that to get the most power out of those solar panels, they actually rotate on the space station to point more directly at the sun. So they become important in terms of the efficiency of the solar panels. But by the same token, the solar panels are exposed to the sun anyway, so you're getting major power to the space station.
Okay, even though it's not pointed directly at where
it's just not as efficient.
Okay. What about Dextre? I mean, we're clearly very interested in it because it's a Canadian-made robot, and there have been some glitches with Dextre in this mission. The shoulder joint, what's going on there?
Well, this is what they're trying to figure out. Certainly what they were doing yesterday is trying to, there's certain stops and catches in the software that prevent astronauts from doing certain things with Dextre, and so the diagnostics they were trying to run needed to circumvent that in order to really get down and dirty into the problem. So what CSA is doing is looking now at what the tolerances are within the software, because the reports were saying that everything is within tolerance, so everything is as specified for Dextre, but now it's just a matter of, maybe it's just the software problem that instead of saying, okay, I'm not supposed to stop at 5 instead of saying at 6. So it's like little minor things that they're looking into like that.
That's sort of the message I've been getting from people who've talked about this and have been watching the mission, is that these are, if you're going to have problems, these are almost sort of the routine things, and that nobody seems to be too concerned about them.
This is the thing. When problem happens in space, there's immediate images conjured up of Apollo 13 and lives at risk. But working in space, working on a construction site like the space station is just like working on any construction site, and you run into issues, you run into problems, you run into snags, and this is just a part of the daily routine and what makes life interesting in orbit. So just solving these kinds of problems is just part of the day of the job.
Yeah. Well, and so now that this is essentially wrapping up, we expect the astronauts in the shuttle to be heading home. What do we look forward to next, or what's sort of the next big thing that we should be watching?
The next big thing, as far as space station construction is concerned, is in May, the end of May. There's going to be a shuttle launch, Shuttle Discovery, I believe it is, that is going to be launching the Japanese experiment module, which is a massive module, and that is the major reason why you see them moving the inspection boom and installing it onto the space station for storage, because for the first time since that boom's been created, it's going to actually be left in orbit. It's normally ferried back and forth, but they're going to leave it in orbit because there's just not enough room in the cargo bay.
They don't have room for it to bring it back home.
Exactly.
Okay. Well, and also for Dextre, I mean, the little glitches or that it's experienced, is it going to have a role in the next mission?
Most certainly will. This is where the fun begins now. It's been brought up to orbit. It's they're doing the shakeout testing now, getting rid of all the little bugs, and they're just going to be breaking it in, not literally, of course, but
hopefully not.
But they're going to be figuring out and working it into the regular EVA schedules, thinking, okay, well, we need to go and do this, but can we use Dextre here? So let's use Dextre, and let's use Dextre over here. So they're really going to be looking at those things now and looking at taking the workload off the astronauts.
Okay. Well, we'll bring you back in on the next mission, if not before that. Kevin, as always, thanks very much.
Good to be here.
Still to come this hour, Teresa Physico is back with your national weather forecast ahead on your weekend edition of CBC News Morning.
Look closely as this World Trade Center commemorative proof transforms into a breathtaking standing sculpture of the Twin Towers. It is entirely clad in 24-karat gold and in .999 pure silver, actually recovered from vaults beneath the ashes of Ground Zero. The gleaming Twin Towers actually rise up like hope from the shadow of Ground Zero over the shining city. To mark the 5th anniversary of September 11th, National Collectors Mint has authorized a private, non-monetary minting that will never be released.